Wake up, apply for a job, and get rejected before your coffee's even ready. Not by a human, but by an algorithm. After hundreds of applications and polite rejections, applicants often internalize the failure. They spend weeks tweaking resumes and rewriting cover letters, assuming the problem lies with their own qualifications. Modern AI screening systems filter for one specific metric: time. These algorithms often ignore education and potential, prioritizing candidates who have already spent years in a corporate seat. This is the experience paradox. It is a catch-22 where companies demand experienced workers for entry-level roles, while simultaneously refusing to hire the candidates who need that experience to start. This chart shows entry-level job requirements in fields like IT, marketing, and finance. It shows a staggering 60% of these positions are currently gated behind requirements of 3 to 5 years of experience, with almost no on-the-job training offered. For over half of the market, the first rung of the corporate ladder has been moved out of reach. This barrier paralyzes economic mobility, leaving millions of young people stuck at the bottom with no clear way up. Inside the corporate boardroom, hiring managers view inexperienced graduates as high-risk financial liabilities. They prioritize plug-and-play workers who can enhance the bottom line immediately without the cost of a training period. This graph illustrates participation in internships over the last 40 years. It highlights a massive jump from just 3% of Americans taking internships in the 1980s to nearly 50% today, as companies shift the burden of training onto the students. This requirement creates a systemic barrier. Internships often require months of unpaid labor, a luxury reserved for privileged students with financial safety nets, while locking out everyone else. To further avoid the risk of domestic training, companies are turning to global labor arbitrage, otherwise known as outsourcing. This comparison breaks down the math. An American entry-level IT worker costs a company between $36,000 and $66,000 a year, plus U.S. legal compliance. Alternatively, they can hire an experienced foreign worker who operates under local rules and requires zero training. This model allows for 24-hour productivity with minimal overhead. Every year, roughly 300,000 American jobs are siphoned off to these overseas vendors. Globalization lowers prices for consumers, but it directly cannibalizes the domestic entry-level talent pipeline that once fueled the middle class. Even the outsourced worker eventually needs to sleep. That brings us to artificial intelligence, the ultimate corporate asset. It never sleeps, never takes a day off, and threatens both local and offshore labor. Internal documents accessed by the New York Times revealed that Amazon plans to automate roughly 75% of its operations. By doing so, they aim to avoid hiring for approximately 600,000 roles by 2033. This isn't isolated to warehouses. The major consulting firms are actively shrinking their ranks. PwC alone plans to cut its U.S. entry-level hiring by nearly a third by 2028, having already axed thousands of jobs. Meta recently laid off swaths of its workforce to recoup losses from the metaverse. Now they are funneling an estimated $135 billion into AI to automate more white-collar work. The augmentation argument suggests that AI will act as an assistant, giving human workers new digital superpowers rather than replacing them. In reality, AI is displacing humans in the most common entry-level roles. From call center operations to basic software coding and corporate payroll systems, they are being automated out of existence, with 80% of customer service inquiries shifting to chatbots by 2029. The corporate calculus is clear. If a task is routine, rule-based, and digital, the human element is an inefficiency that must be eliminated to maximize shareholder revenue. This has triggered a brutal generational collision. Gen Z graduates are forced to compete for a rapidly shrinking pool of jobs against thousands of millennials who were recently laid off. During the pandemic, the digital world exploded, leading to a massive hiring spree. When growth slowed and interest rates rose, companies pivoted from expansion to extreme, ruthless efficiency. This diagram tracks gig economy participation, showing 43% of Gen Z workers piecing together a living outside the corporate structure. While contributing $1.27 trillion, they lack standard protections, leaving them vulnerable to 12-hour shifts without safety nets. For generations locked out of corporate pipelines, this trillion-dollar hustle serves as a mandatory survival mechanism. It is the only remaining path to an income in an era of precarious work. Facing constant insecurity, many young people are taking drastic action. We are witnessing an international brain drain as workers outright abandon countries like the US and the UK. This trend line visualizes the global digital nomad population. It projects a surge to 60 million remote wanderers by the year 2030, as young people seek a better quality of life elsewhere. Individuals are now applying the exact same calculus as the companies that rejected them. They take their labor to whichever country offers the lowest cost of living and the highest return on life. Meanwhile, the corporate endgame comes into focus. The ideal enterprise of tomorrow is a billion-dollar firm consisting entirely of a board of directors, a few executives, and a massive, silent server farm of AI agents. Corporations didn't just break the hiring system. They have engineered a future that simply doesn't